In 17th century Italy, a time of arranged marriages and domestic despair, one woman offered a silent, deadly escape. Her name was Giulia Tofana, and her product, Aqua Tofana, became the most notorious poison of the era. But was she a cold-blooded murderer, or a savior for women trapped in abusive, loveless marriages? Giulia Tofana wasn't just any back-alley poisoner. She was a brilliant entrepreneur who built a secret empire. Born in Palermo, Sicily, around 1620, she was likely the daughter of Tofania d'Adamo, who was executed for poisoning her own husband. It seems the apple didn't fall far from the tree, but Giulia would refine the family business into an art form. She learned her craft from her mother and perfected a unique concoction. The main ingredients were arsenic, lead, and belladonna, all deadly. But her genius was in the delivery. The poison was colorless, odorless, and tasteless. A few drops, administered over time, could mimic the symptoms of a common illness, making the death appear natural. No doctor would suspect a thing. The slow, cumulative effect was her signature, ensuring her clients would never be caught. But how did she sell this deadly product? Giulia was incredibly clever. She moved to Naples and then Rome, setting up a cosmetic business as a front. She packaged Aqua Tofana in beautifully designed vials, disguised as a popular skin treatment called Manna of St. Nicholas of Bari, complete with a saint's image on the bottle. It could sit on a woman's dressing table in plain sight, next to her perfumes and powders, without raising any suspicion. Her network was a whisper campaign, a secret society of women helping other women. Her sales team consisted of trusted friends, apothecaries, and even fortune tellers who would identify potential clients in desperate situations. Her clientele were women from all walks of life, from the aristocracy to the common folk. In an age where divorce was impossible and women were considered the property of their husbands, Giulia offered a permanent solution to an inescapable problem. For women suffering brutal domestic abuse, Aqua Tofana was a lifeline. It was a key to freedom, inheritance, and a new life. This is where the story gets complicated. Was it murder? Yes. But for many of her clients, it was self-preservation. She wasn't just selling poison. She was selling hope. For decades, Giulia operated under the radar. Her business boomed, and it's estimated that her poison was responsible for the deaths of over 600 men. She became a legend in the Roman underworld, a shadowy figure whispered about but never seen. But all empires eventually fall. The end of her reign came from an unlikely source, a guilty conscience. The story goes that one of her clients bought the poison to kill her husband. But at dinner, she had a sudden change of heart. She refused to let him eat the poisoned soup she had prepared. Her husband, suspicious of her strange behavior, forced a confession out of her. She revealed everything, including Giulia Tofana's name. The client was handed over to the papal authorities, and the hunt for the infamous poisoner began. When Giulia heard they were coming for her, she fled to a church, seeking sanctuary. For a while, she was protected. The local people, who saw her as a benefactor to downtrodden women, guarded the church. But a rumor spread completely false that Giulia had poisoned the city's water supply. Public opinion turned against her in an instant. The church was stormed, and Giulia was dragged out and handed over to the authorities under brutal torture. Giulia Tofana confessed to poisoning over 600 men between 1633 and 1651. While the number might be exaggerated, the impact of her operation was undeniable. In July of 1659, Giulia Tofana, her daughter, and 3 of her employees were executed in Rome's Campo de' Fiori. After her death, many of her clients were also rounded up and either executed or imprisoned. The legend of Aqua Tofana lived on long after its creator was gone. It became a byword for a subtle poison. It's even said that the composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, on his deathbed, believed he was being poisoned with Aqua Tofana. So, how should we remember Giulia Tofana? Was she a monstrous serial killer who profited from death? Or was she a radical figure who, in a brutal and patriarchal society, provided a desperate means of escape for oppressed women? The truth, as it often is probably somewhere in the middle. She was a product of her time, a dark reflection of the limited choices available to women. Her story is a chilling reminder of what happens when people are left with no way out. A murderer, an entrepreneur, a folk hero. Giulia Tofana was all of these things, a complex and fascinating figure whose dark legacy continues to intrigue us centuries later. What do you think? Was she a villain or a vigilante? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the dark side of history, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more heinous crime files from history.